Hello friends, so welcome to this lecture on creating or enabling encryption at rest and encryption in transit for your storage account. So if you remember in the previous lecture in the theory part, we have already discussed that data whichever you put in your storage account is always encrypted and decrypted transparently by using the AES encryption, and Microsoft does provide that encryption using the Microsoft managed keys. And because Azure storage encryption or Azure basically Microsoft encrypts or protect your data, and on a ground level they basically helps you to meet any of if there is any security or a compliance requirement you have, because most of the compliance requirement they say that okay, the data which is encrypted, data which is stored at rest should be encrypted. So by default, when you store your data, like we have previously discussed, it is by default encrypted by the Microsoft managed keys. And just would like to show you that okay, what I'm talking about, like we discussed in the theory part. So if I'll click on the storage account, so I'll be using the same storage account which we have used earlier. And if let's say you'll go to the encryption option, you'll see that okay, by default your storage account is currently encrypted with the Microsoft managed keys by default. But there are certain requirements, or let's say you are storing some very high confidential data, and integrity is also something like having a classification like vital or something like that, or in other terms a very confidential data wherein, or there is a compliance requirement that okay, the data which is stored, such kind of confidential data should be stored and like customer managed keys should be used. So in that case, Microsoft does provide the option wherein we can use our own keys. So if you choose this encryption option, in that way we'll be able to encrypt the data which is stored at rest within the storage account with the help of our own encryption keys. Okay, so the data which is stored in blobs and file, we can use our own encryption keys. And if you remember in the last lecture, we have already discussed that, okay, the data which is in tables and queues will always be using the Microsoft managed keys. So we'll select this option. So we'll select a key from a key vault. So in the last lecture, we have already created a key vault. So we'll use that security architect's key vault and the encryption key which is there. So if I'll select this particular option, the key which we have, and it has still not selected. What is the problem? Okay, so it has selected this key, and now we'll click on save. So it will take a couple of minutes to enable that encryption, and by using this option we have encrypted the content which is stored in blob and file storage in case of storage account with our own key. And now this is about the encryption at rest. Now for the encryption in transit, so that the data which is used by the application or by the REST APIs should also be using HTTPS. And in case the HTTPS is not used, then the request will automatically be rejected. So you can see it has been successfully updated. And if I'll go to the encryption option, here you will get the option that okay, we have used our own keys, and this is the URI which we can give it to the application owner. Okay, so I don't dig into that part that okay, this key will be used to encrypt the storage account key. So you can check the Microsoft documentation for further details onto that. So this is the URI which we can give it to the application owners. And then we have is the option to enable the uh, encryption in transit. So you see, this is the option we have, secure transfer enabled. So if you'll disable it, then your storage account will accept the HTTP request and without any encryption. But to enable the encryption in transit, we must check this option as enabled. So in that case, all the requests which will be coming to the storage account should be HTTPS only. And in case if it is not there, request will be rejected. So you can get that information from here as well, that for example, when calling your REST APIs to access your storage account, you must connect using the HTTPS, and any request using HTTP will be rejected when secure transfer is enabled. So by using these two options, and we need to click on save because it was already enabled, we have not done anything. So here we have changed, then we'll be able to save. So in that case, we'll be able to encrypt the data while at rest and in transit. So this is it, friends. In this lecture, we discussed about the encryption option for using our own encryption key, which is stored in a key vault, and about the Microsoft managed keys. And then we discussed about how we can enable the that encryption in transit by clicking on a configuration option. So thank you, friends. Thank you for watching this lecture. Meet you in the next lecture.